Why do all rom-coms feel the same? Nowadays, it feels like every romantic comedy movie that comes out right now plays through the same A to Z testing of how it's going to end up, how it's going to start, and virtually how it's going to make you feel in the end. Why do rom-coms now have the exact same formula just spat on a bunch of different actresses, and it always feels like the first movie that an actor and actress plays is a rom-com that totally failed? What happened to the golden age of rom-coms, and why are they never going to be coming back anytime soon? When I think of the golden era of rom-coms, I really pivot to the early 90s and 80s and even the early 2000s for that matter. A lot of times people just wanted to watch a feel-good movie. A romantic comedy was the perfect thing for couples to watch late at night and also to experience this feeling of living vicariously through two actors.
And geez, another chick flick.
Some really good examples of golden era romantic comedies are like When Harry Met Sally, which was an incredible movie for its time but still an incredible movie for today, and that's because the actual movie had substance and stakes at chance. The two characters weren't just falling in love by chance and there was this romantic feeling throughout the whole film. There were stakes that led up to the ending to overall make you feel like you watched something that maybe you shouldn't have been able to watch. And we kind of dive into the early 2000s where feel-good movies and romantic comedies were kind of the it movie to be produced, so Hollywood made a bunch of them, but they were all really good. Now, I'm sure there's some outliers that didn't actually perform well, but a lot of the romantic comedies that stand still from the early 2000s are still watched today.
Seeing as how love is quite a big subject, and I often think about serial killers. There've only been about 8 of them, and yet there are about 100 movies about them, and yet every day 1 million people are in love. So I can't believe that romantic films won't sort of stay at the core of cinema.
People in the space that were dominating it, like Adam Sandler and Vince Vaughn, who created this comedy-esque yet really true heartthrob movie that was made with guys who are a little on the fugly side.
So what, he's fugly?
Now, am I saying that Adam Sandler and Vince Vaughn are unattractive? No, not really, but when you put them up against someone like Leonardo DiCaprio or Jake Gyllenhaal, there's a very big substance difference of how attractive the men are on camera. So why did they work so well if they weren't conventionally attractive? It's because a lot of the movies had strong scripts and charismatic characters throughout the whole film, which actually had an emotional bond with the other actor throughout the entire movie, which made you feel like it was real.
Do you watch rom-coms or anything like that?
I guess this might be a confessional time here. Rom-coms are kind of a guilty pleasure of mine, but there's something about watching a rom-com on an airplane flight. I think there is something to the fact that I think you become more emotional.
I also keep pivoting back to this idea of stakes. There were stakes in these early 2000s movies. There was actually something that gave you a reason to watch. It wasn't just like, oh my God, are they gonna fall in love? Are they gonna get married? There was a side factor, a twist, if you will, which actually made these movies feel different. If we take the concept of 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler, someone who had memory loss and losing it every single day, so the person, Adam Sandler, had to come up with new ways to impress her every single day. And eventually the movie ends with them being on a boat on the ocean and a video that she has to watch every morning to wake up to remember where she is and who she's with. Guys, that is an incredible movie plot. Nonetheless, is it a great movie all in all, but it is a great concept for stakes at hand for a romantic comedy. I mean, 50 different dates you had to go on with a girl to prove your love for her, but also she had memory loss, so you had to be kind of a different person to impress her every single time. There are stakes in that film. You have that Matthew McConaughey era as well, with How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Guys, there is stakes at hand with the girl trying to see if she can make Matthew McConaughey not want to be with her in 10 days, doing all the most obnoxious things as she slowly then falls in love with him. There is an element of stakes at hand. There is an element of, oh my God, this girl is being a sabotaging bitch. Is she gonna get the guy still? And she does, because it had substance. It had this feeling of like, oh my God, something bad is gonna happen or something really good. And we even go all the way on the other side of the totem pole with real emotional stakes at hand with Love and Other Drugs with Anne Hathaway and Jake Gyllenhaal. This is about a woman who has Parkinson's and a guy who falls in love with her, and they have to go through that journey of not only are they going to fall in love, but is she going to be alive for their love to stay and last? And as grim as that is, and as there is some comedy notes to it, it actually provides a super important movie watching experience because you truly don't know what's going to happen. And it's no longer about the stakes of, oh my God, am I gonna fall in love? It's like, is she gonna die? There is this new age thing that people do not like, which is tension. They do not want tension in movies. They just want the dopamine and the feeling of being in love.
Most rom-coms suck because there's the mistaken belief that a rom-com is about creating obstacles for two people to keep them apart, because otherwise the film would be 12 minutes long.
rom-coms aren't really the thing that's hitting right now. It's just kind of like whatever at this point. There's no more like trendy genre, I feel like, in movies. It's just like put the hottest actresses in one film and do it. Maybe like superhero movies? Maybe. I don't know. I think what's important about focusing on this genre of films is that it actually provided so much value in the way that humans view love in a way that was actually important for people. It wasn't just a movie that people would watch and then disposably forget about forever. There were movies that were being made that people were going to watch over and over and over again. And then they soon became classics. But soon the fall of rom-coms eventually did come into place. Around the late 2000s to late 2010s is when people started getting tired because formulas started to run out. The classic stakes at hand kind of became nuanced, and everything that was a stake just kind of became nothing. And also, the resurgence of really lovey-dovey movies in the form of holiday films from Hallmark truly thrashed what it means to make a good rom-com, and they kind of oversaturated the market a little bit. So fans of rom-coms started seeing romantic movies as Hallmark movies, and it kind of became this trend of, ooh, I don't want to watch a romantic movie, it's going to be one of those rom-com Hallmark flicks. They never really became this actual enjoyable film for both men and women. And then we entered into the 2018 to what is today known as the new age rom-com, and god, they fucking suck. They have no substance whatsoever, they actually have no characters that blend well together, and like I said, it's honestly just to get new actors a foot in the door with popular stars. We saw this with No Hard Feelings made in 2023 starring Jennifer Lawrence. Was this movie good? Not really. Was there stakes at hand? Yeah, there were stakes at hand. Did the stakes suck? Abso-fucking-lutely. It was about this guy who never really had a girlfriend, and his parents set him up with an older woman, Jennifer Lawrence, to date him to give him this kind of experience. It was new, it was inviting, but there were no stakes at hand. If she didn't get the money, she was just going to be broke. And if the guy never found love, he was just going to never find love. It was never this detriment of like 50 First Dates where the girl's going to lose her memory forever and never actually find true love, or Love and Other Drugs in which Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway, the girl was going to die. With No Hard Feelings, it was quite literally in the title. No hard feelings. If the movie ends and nothing happens, no hard feelings, you wasted an hour and a half of my time. I also just felt like it was such a new age movie where the comedy and the actual fixation on the character was really dumb. I was thinking Jennifer Lawrence is washed up at that point, no offense. I think she had way better movies she could have booked than No Hard Feelings. I think this was her approach again at trying to get back into the sexy role, vibe. I just didn't think it worked. There's also those like new age holiday films that try to break the cycle of Hallmark romantic comedies that also try to be trendy that just suck. I saw this with Holiday. I watched Holiday a couple years ago, and honestly, I realized it was way worse of a movie than I thought it was. Holiday gives you the experience of having this, whoa, I think we're back in the romantic comedy feeling, and then nothing happens. It starts off with two people returning gifts on the holiday. They meet each other, they have a little discourse, and then they slowly start to see each other, and it's based off both people who are usually single during the holidays. It just doesn't work. Romantic comedies have just truly been ruined amongst all different films, but there was one film that I think truly took the resurgence of a romantic comedy that was done well, and then they never pivoted forward on it and just left it as a relic in the late rom-com era, and I just don't think anyone's been able to top it. I'm talking about the romantic comedy You People, starring Jonah Hill and Lauren London. Now, this romantic comedy actually had stakes. It was a white guy falling in love with a black woman with two families who were in divide on different race relations and thoughts about them dating the opposite race. For a time period for where we were at in 2023, making a romantic comedy like this was the only way for new age directors to add stakes into films. It was no longer about the gimmick of, will she die? Will she forget her memory? It was like, do you hate me because of my skin color? Felt like this true period piece of someone who was dating someone in like the early 2000s, but it was 2023. It had things that were on time. The delivery was good. Eddie Murphy was in it. It truly did give me hope for the romantic comedy era. But then again, I haven't seen anything good after that. I also think no one cares because I think the hype of a rom-com has truly died. The romantic comedies that I have tried to see that have come to fruition on my Netflix page, like Wrong Missy, truly just kind of sucked. Honestly, it just felt like an hour and a half of fluff and then 30 minutes of an ending. And the comedy was boring. The overall like shell casing of what the girl was supposed to be was dumb. It was cringy and it made you wince a couple times, but other than that, it was pretty much a boring movie. I'm so passionate about this because I truly think directors can actually make good romantic comedy films if they just put their brain to it. Obviously, I'm just someone who's complaining on the sidelines and I actually have no substance, and can I ever direct a movie? Hell no. But I can still comment on when they suck. It just feels like we live in a day and age where everything has become so digitized that even the love itself has become digitized, and we never really know what true love is going to feel like because Hollywood will never want to make one like that. It's not that rom-coms just became boring all of a sudden, it's just Hollywood stopped believing in true love.